a small hand tugging at an expensive suit sleeve, a teddy bear clutched against a worn winter coat, and 5 words that stop a dangerous man in his tracks. The child's voice cuts through the ambient noise of holiday travelers and gate announcements with devastating simplicity. The man's neck tattoo visible above his collar, the sharp lines of his tailored black suit, the unconscious space other travelers maintain around him, versus the child's complete lack of fear or awareness of danger. Her eyes hold only sadness and a terrible, practiced resignation. The mother's delayed reaction, her sharp intake of breath, the way she reaches for her daughter with trembling hands, this woman knows what kind of man stands before them. The way his carefully maintained mask cracks, a muscle twitching in his jaw, his hand frozen mid-reach for his boarding pass. In the child's innocent statement about Santa forgetting them again, he hears an echo of his own childhood, Christmas Eve in a Seoul orphanage, pressing his face against cold glass, waiting for someone who would never come. The parallel is immediate and devastating. Jeong didn't move, couldn't move. The child's words hung in the airport air like frost, crystallizing something he'd spent 30 years trying to bury. Mom said Santa forgot us again. Again, that single word was a knife between ribs. He watched the mother, Queenie, he'd heard her called at the check-in desk, pull the girl back with apologetic urgency, murmuring something about bothering strangers. But her hands shook as she gripped her daughter's shoulders and her eyes never quite met his. She knew. People always knew what he was, even when he wore expensive suits instead of blood. Jeong turned away, settling into a seat 3 gates down with a clear sightline. His security detail materialized in the peripheral spaces, Minyu by the coffee kiosk, Junho near the restrooms. Silent, professional, waiting for orders that wouldn't come. He should board his flight. He had business in Tokyo, contracts that required his particular brand of persuasion. Instead, he watched a small girl in a coat 2 sizes too big share half a granola bar with her mother, both of them pretending it was enough. Christmas Eve, 1993. He'd been 7 years old. The memory arrived unwanted. Thin blankets in the Seoul orphanage dormitory, 43 children and him, face pressed against a window overlooking the street. Watching families pass beneath streetlights strung with cheap tinsel. The Ajumma who ran the orphanage had told them Santa only visited children who had parents to let him in. Even at 7, he'd understood the cruelty of that particular lie, the way it made their abandonment feel like a locked door rather than an open wound. He'd stopped crying by dawn, learned that tears changed nothing. Now, 3 decades later, he watched Briley trace patterns on the terminal window with one finger, her teddy bear tucked under her arm. The same pose, the same quiet acceptance that magic wasn't meant for children like her. Queenie counted bills from a worn wallet, her lips moving with calculations. She bought 1 bottle of water, filled it twice at the fountain, and split it between them. The suitcase beside her was held together with duct tape. No checked luggage, no return tickets visible in her trembling hands. Jeong had seen enough runners to recognize the signs. The way she positioned herself with her back to the wall, eyes tracking every man who passed. The careful note she'd made of the nearest exit. The absolute stillness she forced into her body whenever security walked by, as if she could make herself invisible through sheer will. Someone was hunting them. His phone buzzed. Tokyo, the client growing impatient. Jeong silenced it. Across the terminal, Briley had fallen asleep against her mother's shoulder, the teddy bear clutched to her chest. Queenie stroked her daughter's hair with mechanical gentleness, her gaze fixed on nothing, everything. A woman holding the world together with fraying thread and borrowed time. He knew that look, had seen it in the mirror the Christmas he'd aged out of the orphanage with nothing but the clothes he wore and a talent for violence. The look of someone who'd stopped expecting rescue but kept moving anyway, because stopping meant death. Jeong stood, made his decision. Minyu appeared at his elbow. "Sir." Change of plans, Jeong said quietly, his eyes never leaving the woman and child. Cancel Tokyo and find out everything about them. By the time Queenie woke Briley for boarding, their tickets had been upgraded. The gate agent's smile was practiced, professional. Looks like you've been selected for our holiday courtesy program, ma'am. Complimentary upgrade to premium economy. Merry Christmas. Jeong watched from his position near the window as confusion flickered across Queenie's face, followed immediately by suspicion. She glanced around the terminal, searching for the trap, the catch, the cost. Her hand tightened on Briley's. We didn't enter any program. Random selection, the agent assured her, already printing new boarding passes. Happens every holiday season. Queenie took the passes with the careful grip of someone accepting a live grenade. She knew better than to believe in random kindness. Jeong could see it in the rigid set of her shoulders as she shepherded Briley toward the gate, checking over her shoulder twice. Smart woman, paranoia kept people alive. Minu's voice crackled in Jeong's earpiece. Queenie March, 28, daughter Briley, age 6, last known address in Portland, lease terminated 4 days ago. Ex-partner, Detective Marcus Hale, Portland PD, multiple domestic disturbance calls all withdrawn, no charges filed. Jeong's jaw tightened. A cop. That explained the hunted look, the careful awareness of security cameras. Hale would have access to databases, travel records, the entire infrastructure designed to find people who didn't want to be found. Current location of the ex. Unknown, officially on leave. Last credit card charge was 2 days ago, Portland International Airport. So he was already in motion, already hunting. Jeong made a call. 5 minutes later, 2 gift-wrap boxes arrived at Gate 47, delivered by an airport employee who pointed vaguely toward the customer service desk when Queenie demanded to know who sent them. From his vantage point, Jeong watched Briley's face transform as she opened the smaller box. A new teddy bear, white and soft, wearing a small red scarf. The child looked at it like it might vanish, then clutched it to her chest alongside her old, worn companion. Queenie opened the second box more slowly. Inside, a prepaid phone still in packaging, untraceable, a lifeline. Her hands trembled as she lifted it, and for a moment, Jeong thought she might cry. Instead, she turned in a slow circle, scanning faces, searching for her anonymous benefactor with mounting fear in her eyes. She was right to be afraid. Accepting gifts from strangers meant accepting debt, and debt meant leverage, and leverage meant control. In her world, nothing came without cost. But she pocketed the phone anyway. Survival trumped pride. Jeong boarded his flight, Tokyo business successfully canceled, new tickets acquired for her destination, and settled into first class while Queenie and Briley disappeared into the main cabin 4 rows back. Close enough to protect, far enough to avoid detection. Junho slid into the seat beside him, tablet already open. Manifests for her destination. 3 possibilities for final location based on. All of them, Jeong interrupted quietly. I want surveillance on all 3, and find Hale. I want to know where he is every minute. Because men like Marcus Hale didn't stop, didn't accept loss, didn't let go of what they considered theirs. And Jeong hadn't survived 3 decades in his world by underestimating the monsters who wore badges. Queenie caught him at baggage claim. She moved fast, positioning Briley behind her with one hand while the other gripped the prepaid phone like a weapon. Her voice came out low and sharp, meant only for him. I don't know what you want, but we can't pay it back. Jeong stopped, hands visible at his sides. Around them, travelers flowed past in holiday chaos, reunion hugs, luggage collisions, the mechanical drone of announcements. His security detail froze in position, waiting. Up close, she was younger than he'd thought, exhausted in a way that went bone deep. There was a fatting bruise along her collarbone, carefully hidden beneath her coat collar. I'm not asking for payment, he said quietly. Then what? Her jaw clenched. Men like you don't help people for free. I've learned that lesson. Men like you. She'd clocked him completely. The tattoo, the tailored suit, the dangerous men who moved in his orbit. Most people looked away when they recognized predators. Queenie looked directly at him, terror and courage fighting for dominance in her eyes. Jeong respected that. You're running from someone, he said, not a question. Her face went carefully blank. I don't know what you're. Detective Marcus Hale, Portland PD, currently on leave and very motivated to find you. He watched her process that, saw the exact moment fear won. He has resources, connections, and he's already looking. Queenie's breathing went shallow. Behind her, Briley clutched both teddy bears, watching the adults with a child's instinct for danger. How do you, she stopped, recalculated. What do you want? To help. Why, the word came out broken, desperate. Why would you help us? Jeong could have lied, should have lied. Instead, he looked past Queenie to the small girl with the worn coat and the new teddy bear, and told a truth he'd never spoken aloud. Because no one helped me. The words hung between them. Queenie's expression shifted, suspicion giving way to something more complex, recognition maybe. The understanding of one survivor seeing another. I don't trust you, she said finally. Smart. Jeong pulled a card from his pocket, plain black with a single phone number embossed in silver. But when Hale finds your trail, and he will, you'll need someone who can make you disappear. Someone who operates outside the systems he controls. And what does that cost? Her voice remained steady, but her hand shook as she took the card. Nothing you're not willing to give. He met her eyes directly. I'm not him, Ms. March. I don't take what isn't offered, but I keep my word, always. For a long moment, Queenie studied him, measuring, weighing the monster she knew against the monster she didn't. Finally, she pocketed the card. If you come near my daughter. I won't. Jeong stepped back, giving her space. The phone is secure. Use it when you're ready. He walked away before she could respond, Jun-ho and Minyu falling into formation. Behind him, he heard Briley's small voice asking if the man was coming with them. No, baby, Queenie whispered, not yet. But Jeong heard the unspoken truth beneath those words. Not yet, but maybe. Maybe when the wolves close in. Maybe when survival requires a different kind of monster. The call came 3 days later at 2:47 in the morning. Jeong answered on the first ring. He found us. Queenie's voice was barely a whisper, muffled like she was hiding in a closet or bathroom. I don't know how, but he's here, in the building. Address. Jeong was already moving, snapping his fingers at Minyu, who materialized from the adjoining hotel suite. She rattled off a location, a cheap extended-stay motel on the edge of the city, the kind of place that didn't ask questions and accepted cash. 3rd floor, room 312. He's in the lobby talking to the night clerk. I saw him on the camera feed when I went for ice. Lock the door, push furniture against it. Don't open it for anyone except me. He was in the car before she could respond, Jun-ho already behind the wheel. Queenie, look at me. Are you looking at the phone? Yes, her breathing was rapid, panicked. I need you to stay calm for Briley. Can you do that? A pause, then steadier, yes. Good, we're 12 minutes out. Stay on the line. The drive took 9. Jeong entered through the service entrance while Jun-ho positioned himself in the stairwell and Minyu blocked the elevator. The night clerk was counting bills at the desk, $200, freshly paid. His eyes widened when he saw Jeong's face, the tattoo, the absolute certainty of violence in his movements. Room 312, Jeong said quietly, you told him. The clerk's hands shook. He's a cop, man. He had a badge and everything, said it was a custody thing. Jeong pulled out $5,000 in cash, placed it on the counter. You never saw him, you never saw me, understood. The money disappeared into a drawer, Saw who? Marcus Hale was on the third-floor landing, picking the lock on 312 with professional efficiency. Tall, broad-shouldered, with the particular swagger of a man who'd never been told no. He looked up when Jeong's shadow fell across him. "Rooms occupied," Hale said, his hand drifting toward his hip, toward the gun holstered there. "Move along." "No." Hale's eyes narrowed, reassessing, taking in the expensive suit, the visible tattoo, the two men who'd appeared behind Jeong like sharks scenting blood. "You don't want this problem, friend." "Detective Marcus Hale." Jeong's voice carried no inflection. "Portland PD. Currently on administrative leave following your fourth domestic violence complaint. Badge number 2847. Your captain thinks you're visiting your mother in Phoenix." Hale's face hardened. "Who the fuck are you?" "The new problem." Jeong stepped closer, closing the distance until he could see the rage building behind Hale's eyes, the kind of rage that had left bruises on Queenie's collarbone and taught a 6-year-old that Santa forgot children like her. "Walk away. Don't come back. Don't search for them. Forget they exist." "Or what?" Hale's hand closed on his weapon. "You think I'm scared of some?" Jeong moved. 3 seconds later, Hale was against the wall, arm twisted at an angle that promised permanent damage if Jeong applied another ounce of pressure. The gun clattered to the floor. "Or I make you disappear," Jeong whispered against his ear. "And unlike her, no one will look for you, no one will care. You'll just be another dirty cop who ran." He released Hale, stepped back. "Choose wisely, detective." Hale made the wrong choice. Jeong learned about it from Junho 72 hours later. The detective had filed a missing persons report, flagged Queenie's name in every database he could access, and called in favors with 3 police departments across 2 states. He'd also made inquiries about a Korean male, mid-30s, neck tattoo, possible organized crime connections. So much for walking away. Jeong sat in his temporary office, a penthouse suite overlooking the city, and made 4 phone calls. The first was to a captain in Portland PD who owed him for a problem that had disappeared 5 years ago. The second was to a judge who preferred his gambling debts stay private. The third was to an FBI agent who valued her career more than her integrity. By nightfall, Marcus Hale's administrative leave had become a formal investigation. Evidence of planted drugs in evidence lockers, witness statements suddenly remembering coercion, bank accounts that didn't match a detective's salary. Some of it was true, most of it was constructed, all of it was permanent. The fourth call was to someone who specialized in convincing people that running was healthier than fighting. Jeong was reviewing surveillance photos when Briley appeared in the doorway. She shouldn't have been there. Queenie was supposed to be at the apartment he'd secured for them, 3 bedrooms, pre-furnished, lease paid for a year. But the child stood in his office wearing pajamas with faded cartoon characters, her new teddy bear tucked under one arm. "You shouldn't be here," he said, gentling his voice automatically. "Mama's sleeping. She cries when she thinks I can't hear." Briley walked closer, fearless in the way only children could be. "Are you making the bad man go away?" Jeong's throat tightened. On his laptop screen, surveillance footage showed Hale being arrested outside a motel in Nevada, planted evidence, manufactured witnesses, the full weight of a corrupted system turning on one of its own. He should lie, should send her back to Queenie with comfortable fiction. Instead, he closed the laptop and crouched to her eye level. "Yes." "Will he come back?" "No." He said it with absolute certainty, the kind of promise you made with blood and leverage and the full weight of an organization that never forgot. "I won't let him." Briley studied him with those 2 old eyes, processing. Then she held out her new teddy bear. "Mr. Snow wants to say thank you." Something cracked in Jeong's chest. He took the offered bear with careful hands, as if it might shatter. "You're welcome, Mr. Snow." "He says you look sad. Briley tilted her head. Like Mama, but different sad. Different how? Mama's sad is scared. Your sad is. She searched for the word with a child's earnest concentration. Lonely. Joan's breath caught. 30 years of carefully constructed walls, and a 6-year-old found the crack. Maybe, he admitted quietly. Briley smiled, small, tentative but real. Mr. Snow says lonely people need hugs. She wrapped her small arms around his neck before he could respond. Joan froze, every instinct screaming that he would contaminate this innocence, corrupt it simply by proximity. But she held on, and slowly, carefully, he let himself hold back. Just for a moment. Just long enough to remember what it felt like to be human. The restaurant was called Beach, and it sat in the heart of the city's revitalized waterfront like a jewel in polished concrete and glass. Queenie started as a hostess. It was legitimate work, taxes paid, background checks clean, a salary that wouldn't raise questions. Joan had offered her a position in his corporate office, something easier, but she'd refused. I need to earn this, she'd said, chin lifted in that stubborn way he'd come to recognize, not be given it. So she worked, learned the reservation system, memorized the wine list, greeted customers with the kind of practiced warmth that came from years of service industry survival. The staff accepted her quickly. Joan's people knew better than to ask questions about his decisions. What they didn't know was that he came by every evening, sitting at the bar with a single glass of whiskey he never finished, watching her work with the intensity of a man studying something precious and breakable. You're terrible at subtle, Junho observed one night, sliding onto the stool beside him. Joan didn't look away from where Queenie was laughing at something the head chef had said, her whole face transforming with genuine amusement. I'm not trying to be subtle. The staff is starting to talk. Let them. 3 weeks in, Queenie started bringing Briley to the restaurant after school. The child would sit in a corner booth doing homework, colored pencils spread across the table like a small rainbow. The kitchen staff competed to bring her snacks, dumplings, rice cakes, small bowls of japchae. Joan found himself timing his visits to coincide with her presence. You're doing it wrong, Briley informed him one evening, watching him attempt to help with her math homework. Miss Chen says you have to carry the one. Miss Chen sounds very smart. She is. She has a turtle named Mr. Pickles. Briley returned to her workbook with absolute focus, tongue poking between her teeth. Do you have any pets? No. Why not? Because pets required permanence, stability, the kind of life he'd never allowed himself. I travel too much. Oh, she processed this with a child's pragmatism. That's sad. Everyone should have someone to come home to. The words hit harder than they should have. Later, after Briley had fallen asleep in the booth and Queenie had finished her shift, Joan helped carry the child to his car. She'd insisted on independence in most things, but exhaustion made people practical. You're good with her, Queenie said quietly as he settled Briley into the backseat, buckling her with careful precision. I don't know what I'm doing. None of us do. She watched him adjust the seatbelt, ensuring it wouldn't press against Briley's neck. But you try, that's more than most people. In the rearview mirror, Joan caught her expression, still wary, still measuring him against every man who'd hurt her. But there was something else now, something that looked almost like trust beginning to take root in careful soil. Marcus Hale pled guilty yesterday, he said. Federal charges. He'll be in prison for 8 to 12 years. Queenie's hands tightened on her purse. You did that. I made sure the truth had consequences. He met her eyes in the mirror. You're safe now, both of you. She nodded slowly, then surprised him with a question. And what about you? Are you safe? No one had asked him that in 20 years. I don't know, he admitted. Then I guess we're all learning, Queenie said softly. Spring came slowly, then all at once. Briley's artwork covered Queenie's refrigerator, crayon drawings of families that now included a tall figure with dark hair standing beside a woman and child. She never labeled him, but Jeong knew. He saw himself in the careful strokes, the way she drew him slightly apart from the others, as if unsure where he belonged. She'd made friends at school, real friends, the kind who came over for playdates and birthday parties. Queenie had cried the first time another mother invited Briley to her house, quiet tears she thought he hadn't noticed. He noticed everything. The organization noticed too. "You're spending too much time on civilian matters," his second-in-command said during a tense meeting in May. Kim D-young, 20 years in the business, loyal but practical. "People are asking questions, wondering if you've gone soft." "Let them wonder." "Jeong," D-young leaned forward, voice dropping. "The H-Wang family is making moves in our territory. We need you focused, not playing house with some woman and her kid." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. "Careful," Jeong said softly. D-young held his gaze, then looked away first. "Smart man. I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. This isn't you. This domestic fantasy, it's a weakness someone will exploit." He wasn't wrong. That night, Jeong sat in his car outside Queenie's apartment and didn't go in. Watched through the window as she helped Briley with homework, both of them laughing at something. Normal. Safe. Everything he'd never been and could never truly be. His phone buzzed. Briley, texting from Queenie's number with painstaking slowness. "Are you coming for dinner? Mama made the soup you like." He should end this. Create distance before his world bled into theirs. Before someone like the H-Wang decided a woman and child were acceptable leverage against him. Before he destroyed the very thing he was trying to protect. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to type excuses, create space, begin the slow extraction that would keep them safe from him. Instead, the apartment door opened. Briley stood there in her school uniform, backpack still on, scanning the parking lot until she found his car. Her face lit up, and she waved with her whole arm. Jeong's throat closed. She ran down the stairs, too fast, too reckless, the way children ran when they were loved enough to feel safe. When she reached his window, she was breathless. "You're being weird," she announced. "Mama says when people sit in cars and don't come in, they're having big feelings and need a hug." "Briley." "She also says you're scared." Those two perceptive eyes studied him. "Are you scared of us?" "No," the truth came automatically. "I'm scared for you." "Because of your work." He'd never lied to her, wouldn't start now. "Yes." Briley considered this with the gravity of a child who'd learned early that the world was complicated. Then she opened his car door, climbed into his lap uninvited, and wrapped her arms around his neck. "Mr. Snow says scared people need to stay close to safe people, so they remember what they're protecting." She pulled back to look at him seriously. "We're your safe people, right?" Jeong's vision blurred. "Right." "Then come have soup. Mama's waiting." He carried her upstairs, and for tonight, he let himself believe he could be both, the monster who protected and the man who stayed. The call came during Briley's dance recital. Jeong felt the phone vibrate in his pocket, 3 short pulses, the emergency code, but didn't move. On stage, Briley was spinning in her pink tutu, slightly offbeat but radiant with concentration. Queenie sat beside him, phone recording every moment, her free hand resting unconsciously on his arm. 4 more buzzes, urgent now. He waited until the performance ended, until Briley had taken her bow and spotted them in the audience with that brilliant smile. Only then did he excuse himself to the lobby. "The H-Wangs moved on the restaurant," Junho said without preamble. "D-young is handling it, but they're asking for you specifically. They have hostages." Jeong's blood turned to ice. "Who?" "Kitchen staff, 3 of them." A pause. "They know about Queenie. They're making this personal." He should have seen this coming. Should have known that showing weakness, showing care, would paint targets on everyone he touched. I'm coming, keep them contained. He made it back for the finale, presenting Briley with flowers and watching her chatter about every spin and jump. But Queenie saw through him. She always did. "What's wrong?" she asked when Briley ran off to find her friends. "Business, I have to go." Her expression shifted, resignation mixed with something harder. The kind of business you don't talk about. "Yes." "Will you come back?" The question carried weight beyond the immediate. She was asking if he'd survive, yes, but also if he'd return to them, or if this emergency would be the excuse he needed to finally create distance. "Always," he said. She held his gaze, then nodded. "Be careful." The restaurant was cordoned off when he arrived, police lights painting the street in red and blue. Jeong's people had established a perimeter, cops on their payroll keeping official channels calm, while the real negotiation happened inside. He found the Hwang lieutenant in Beek's private dining room, 3 kitchen staff zip-tied to chairs, 2 armed men flanking them. The message was clear: cross us. And the people you care about pay. "Jeong SSI," the lieutenant smiled without warmth. "Good of you to join us. We were just discussing territory adjustments." The violence was quick, efficient, and brutal. Jeong moved like the weapon he'd always been, disarming both guards before they could process the threat. The lieutenant reached for his gun. He didn't make it. Jeong had him pinned against the wall, forearm across his throat, when he heard the sharp intake of breath behind him. Queenie stood in the doorway, phone in hand. She must have followed him, must have talked her way past his people through sheer determination. Now she saw everything. The gun on the floor, the zip-tied hostages, the lieutenant's face purpling as Jeong applied pressure, the absolute cold calculation in his eyes, no mercy, no hesitation, just the lethal efficiency of a man who'd killed before and would kill again. This was who he really was, not the man who helped with homework or carried sleeping children. This. "Queenie." "Don't," her voice shook, but she didn't look away. "Don't apologize, don't explain." She stepped fully into the room, past the violence, past the evidence of his true nature. "Just finish it, whatever you need to do." "You should leave." "No," she met his eyes with something like defiance, like acceptance. "You've seen all of me, the bruises, the fear, the nights I can't stop shaking. I need to see all of you too." Christmas Eve arrived with fresh snow, rare for the city but perfect in its timing. Jeong's penthouse had been transformed. White lights cascaded from the ceiling like frozen stars. A massive tree stood by the windows, decorated with ornaments Briley had made over the past year, each one a small memory preserved in construction paper and glitter. Presents spilled across the floor in carefully wrapped chaos. It looked nothing like the stark, minimalist space it had been. It looked like a home. "You went overboard," Queenie said, but her smile betrayed her. She'd been living here for 3 months now, her and Briley both. No longer the apartment he'd secured, but here, in his space, making it theirs. Briley made a list. Jeong adjusted a ribbon on one of the packages. I merely followed instructions. A list with 47 items. 48, she added one yesterday. Queenie laughed. The sound still surprised him, even after a year. The way she'd learned to be light again, to let joy exist without waiting for it to shatter. Briley burst from her room in new pajamas, Mr. Snow and her old teddy bear both clutched under her arms. At 7, she was taller, steadier, but still young enough to believe in magic. "Is it midnight yet?" 3 more hours, Queenie said. "That's forever." They compromised on one present. Briley chose the smallest box, unwrapping it with ceremonial slowness to reveal a silver locket. Inside, a photo of the 3 of them from the summer, taken at the beach. Briley between them, laughing, held safe between 2 people who would burn the world down to keep her that way. So I can keep you with me always, Joan said quietly. Briley threw her arms around him with the unself-conscious affection she'd been showing for months now. No hesitation, no fear, just love offered freely because she'd learned she could. Eventually, she fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in blankets and dreams, present still waiting. Joan and Queenie stood by the windows, watching snow fall over the city lights. Her hand found his, fingers interlacing with practiced ease. "Thank you," she said softly. "For the presents. For all of it. For staying. For choosing us every day even when it would be easier not to." Joan turned to face her, this woman who'd seen every dark corner of his soul and hadn't run, who'd watched him break a man's arm to protect her staff and then come home to help their daughter with spelling homework. "It was never a choice," he said. "Not really, from the moment she told me Santa forgot them. You decided to remember us instead." He kissed her then, soft and careful, still learning that he was allowed this. That redemption could taste like shared promises and chosen family. Behind them, Briley stirred. "Joan," her voice was sleep-soft, confused, "you're still here." He crossed to the couch, crouching beside her. "Where else would I be?" She smiled, eyes already drifting closed again. "Santa didn't forget us this year." Her hand found his, held tight. "You remembered." The words hit like they had a year ago in that airport terminal, but different now. Then they'd been a wound. Now they were healing. "I'll always remember," he whispered. "I promise." Queenie joined them, completing their constellation. They stayed like that, tangled together on the couch, Briley between them, snow falling outside their window. Joan had spent 30 years believing redemption was impossible, that men like him were beyond saving, destined only to destroy. But maybe redemption wasn't about erasing who you'd been. Maybe it was about choosing who you'd become, about showing up, about being the person who remembered when everyone else forgot, about building a family from broken pieces and calling it home. Outside, church bells marked midnight, Christmas morning. Inside, a former monster held his family close and let himself believe in second chances. In Santa Claus and silver lockets. In the revolutionary act of choosing love over loneliness. In remembering. Always. Thank you for listening till the end. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories that speak to the heart. Where in the world are you turning in from? Let me know in the comments so we can connect and share our thoughts. I appreciate the time you spent here with me today.